Epstein File: Uncovering the Real Truth. Bill Gates, Hawkins, Donald Trump, Mira Nair, Elon Musk. Why Epstein's story refused to die. Jeffrey Epstein is dead, but his files are not. In February, new document releases, old interviews resurfacing, and renewed public interest tell us one thing clearly. This case was never closed, it was paused. Epstein wasn't powerful because of money alone. He was powerful because he had access. The pattern investigators couldn't ignore across court filings, flight logs, and testimonies, one pattern keeps repeating. Private jets, private islands, elite guests, absolute secrecy. This was not chaos, this was structure. Bill Gates, meetings without clarity. Public records confirm that Bill Gates met Epstein multiple times after Epstein's 2008 conviction. Gates has stated these meetings were related to philanthropy discussions, nothing more. But the question investigators ask is not what was said, it's why the meetings continued despite Epstein's past being known. No accusations, only unanswered logic gaps. Stephen Hawking, name in a file, not an accusation. Stephen Hawking's name appears in social event records and travel discussions. Important clarity, there is no allegation of wrongdoing against Hawking. Yet his inclusion highlights something bigger. Epstein positioned himself around intellectual giants, not just politicians. Reputation was his shield. Donald Trump, distance or damage control. Donald Trump's relationship with Epstein has been debated for years. Trump publicly stated he cut ties long before Epstein's arrest, and records show Epstein was banned from Mar-a-Lago. Still, photos, past quotes, and overlapping social circles raise one core issue. In elite worlds, distance is rarely clean. Mira Nair. Why art and activism appear in the file. Mira Nair's name surfaces not as a participant, but through event connections and cultural gatherings. This chapter is critical because it shows Epstein's strategy. Mix art, activism, science, and power. So scrutiny becomes uncomfortable. Again, no allegations, but the web was intentional. Elon Musk, denial in the digital age. Elon Musk has explicitly denied any involvement or association with Epstein. And unlike others, Musk responded directly and publicly. But why does his name appear at all? Because Epstein chased future power, not just current power. Technology was the next throne. The island that changed everything. Little St. James Island wasn't just a location, it was a filter. Only those invited, only those trusted, only those who knew the rules. Victim testimonies describe a place designed for control and silence. The role of Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell wasn't an assistant, she was a gatekeeper. Her conviction confirmed one truth: Epstein didn't act alone. And that makes every unanswered name more important. Media silence, coincidence or calculation? Ask yourself honestly, why did major media houses move on so fast? The Epstein story threatened too many advertisers, donors, and alliances. Silence can be louder than lies. Why victims were ignored for years? Multiple victims reported abuse years before action was taken. Their voices were dismissed, minimized, delayed. Not because evidence was weak, but because power was strong. The flight logs, truth with limits. Flight logs exist, names exist, but logs prove presence, not crime. This distinction matters because truth must be precise, not emotional. Why February 2026 matters. February has become a month of document releases, court discussions, and renewed public pressure. Momentum matters. History shows scandals don't explode, they leak. Intelligence agencies and the blackmail theory. Former intelligence insiders suggest Epstein may have operated as a collector of leverage. Photos, videos, secrets. Blackmail doesn't need proof, it needs fear. Why justice stops at the top. Epstein went to jail, Maxwell went to jail. But systems that enabled them remain untouched. Justice often ends where influence begins. The cost of speaking out. Journalists who push too hard faced. Legal pressure, career damage, sudden silence. Truth has a price, few can afford it. What we still don't know. Who protected Epstein in 2008? Who delayed investigations? Where are the missing files? These are not conspiracy questions, they are legal questions. Why this story is bigger than Epstein. Epstein is not the headline. The headline is unchecked power. Remove Epstein, and the system still exists. What accountability really means. Accountability isn't cancel culture, it's transparency. Names don't need drama, they need answers. The Epstein file teaches us one brutal truth. In elite circles, morality is optional, but exposure is permanent. The real danger isn't what we know, it's what we've been trained not to ask. Hidden documents, missing names, and the system behind the silence. Epstein didn't build an empire in isolation. He built it inside a system that rewarded silence. Part 1 showed the faces, Part 2 exposed the patterns. Now in part 3, we follow the documents that disappeared and the names that were never meant to be spoken. The files that were never meant to be public. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, authorities seized hard drives, CDs, and encrypted data, paper files labeled by names. Yet only a fraction ever surfaced publicly. The question is not what was found. The real question is what was removed before we saw it. Why court unsealing took years. Victim lawyers fought for years to unseal Epstein-related documents. Why the delay? Because unsealing didn't just risk embarrassment, it risked institutional exposure. Judges repeatedly cited privacy of third parties, but privacy for whom? The John Doe problem. Many court files replaced names with John Doe 1, John Doe 2, John Doe 36. This wasn't random. It allowed people with powerful legal to exist in the story without existing in public accountability. Financial trails that went cold. Epstein's money moved through offshore accounts, shell companies, trust funds. Despite this, full financial mapping was never completed publicly. Why? Because money trails don't just expose criminals, they expose enablers. The universities and institutions angle Epstein donated money to. Universities, research labs, scientific initiatives. These institutions benefited and later distanced themselves. But donations don't disappear from history. They leave paper trails and influence footprints. Why intelligence agencies are always mentioned. No proof has ever been publicly confirmed that Epstein worked for an intelligence agency, but multiple former officials have stated one thing clearly. His operation model matched classic compromat strategies: collect information, secure leverage, control outcomes. That doesn't require a badge, only access. Surveillance without cameras. Epstein's properties reportedly had unusual security layouts, restricted zones, non-standard recording systems. Yet official evidence of footage remains missing or classified. In modern investigations, absence of footage is not neutral, it's suspicious. The prison death that created more questions. Epstein's death was ruled a suicide, but failures included cameras malfunctioning, guards asleep, protocols ignored. Each failure alone is explainable. Altogether, they form a pattern of impossibility. Why Ghislaine Maxwell's trial was limited. Maxwell was convicted, but the trial had boundaries. Key limitations: narrow charges, restricted witness scope, no expansion to third-party investigations. Justice was delivered, but only to a point. The media's comfort zone. Media outlets focused on Epstein's lifestyle, his island, his death, but avoided systematic questions like who protected him in 2008, who negotiated his plea deal, who benefited from his silence. Comfort beats courage. Why powerful names appear then vanish. Some names appear briefly in documents, then disappear from headlines. This happens because defamation law is expensive, power hires patience, media cycles move on. Silence doesn't mean innocence. It means the conversation ended too soon. Victims' stories that were never televised. Only a handful of victims became public faces. Many others chose silence because trauma, legal pressure, fear of character assassination. Truth doesn't always want a microphone. Epstein's real skill, social engineering. Epstein understood one thing perfectly. People don't question those who introduce opportunity. Money, connections, access. He wasn't a monster in appearance. He was useful. Why this case is studied in law schools today. Epstein's case is analyzed as a lesson in prosecutorial failure, power imbalance, victim silencing. Not as a crime story, but as a system failure. The too big to prosecute reality. Modern justice has an unspoken rule. If a case threatens too many pillars at once, it collapses inward. Epstein wasn't protected forever, but the system around him was. What February symbolizes now, February has become symbolic, not because of Epstein himself, but because every year new discussions resurface. Truth works in seasons. Why new whistleblowers stay quiet. Potential insiders exist, but speaking out means losing careers, endless lawsuits, public destruction. Courage is rare. Protection is rarer. Epstein as a warning, not an exception. Remove Epstein, and the question remains, has the system changed? Power still concentrates. Access still shields. Victims still struggle. The pattern survives the person. What real transparency would look like. Real transparency would mean full document release, financial disclosure, independent oversight. None of this has fully happened. That tells us everything. The final truth of the Epstein file. The Epstein file is not about scandal. It's about how power negotiates its own limits. Epstein fell, but the silence around him still stands. If you believe truth matters more than power, then like, share, and subscribe. Because stories like this survive only when people refuse to forget. If stories like this make you uncomfortable, that's exactly why they matter. Stay curious, stay critical, and never stop asking who benefits from silence.